Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the grammar exercises of unit number 10 first year English textbook. My name is Sadia Malik and today we are going to do the vocabulary and grammar exercises. First of all, there is a vocabulary exercise given in your book. You have a word bank and you have to choose the words from there and put them in the appropriate boxes. Now it is very important to look at the context of the sentences because most of the clues are given there in the sentences, and from there you can decide which word to insert. Please remember that the words that I have put in these blanks are already there, available, written in your book in a pink box. 3 days were simply not acceptable amount of time, an acceptable amount of time to complete such a lot of work. So you have been given a choice between a or an. It is basically a distractor. So you have to decide whether you are going to use a word starting with a vowel or otherwise. But looking at the sentence, we can say that it is about acceptability. 3 days was simply not an acceptable amount of time to complete such a lot of work. The second is you do not need to be a genius to see what the problem here is. Make sure you read all the instructions carefully before setting up the device. There are special schools for students with mental disorders. But please remember, although the blank is given here, but we use differently abled people here. Mental disorder is something which is a little harsh and we do not use it anymore in our polite conversations. Seeing that some of their peers have one, children ask their parents for a mobile phone at a very early age. Peers are your age fellows. So when children see that their age fellows have mobile phones, they also urge their parents to get them one as well. When the space probe landed on Mars, the first thing it did was to take a specimen from the Martian soil. Specimen is a little amount that you take for scientific research. That is called a specimen, more like a sample. The students get monthly assignments, which usually include writing a report. So monthly assignment can also be written, because if you get a monthly assignment, then you have to put an article over there. But because the article is not there, so we assume that we might be talking about more than one assignment. So we have used assignments. Half of the courses in our department were optional. Optional is something which is not compulsory. It is totally up to you whether you want to take that subject or not. There were a variety of courses to choose from. Children need to be taught to learn independently at school, at primary school, otherwise they can't get anywhere in their school life. This is so important. It is just fill in the blanks, but if you look at the sentence and what it means that you should be able to learn on your own. You should not be spoon fed. And that is why wherever I give you some answers, I always tell you that this is more like an idea on which you can build on, but the best thing would be that you come up with the answers yourself. In most countries, schools have 2 terms or semesters, while in others there can be up to 6. So there are different ways of dividing up an academic year. In some school systems you have terms like first term, second term and final term, and the other ones who usually deal with semesters, usually at a university level, you have semesters, like a year is divided into 2 halves, the spring semester and the fall, autumn semester. So this was vocabulary. Now we are going to move on to the next grammar exercise, and this is about participles, present and past participles. But before that, I thought that I need to tell you more about the form of verbs. The problem with our school system is that whenever we talk about different form of verbs, usually 3 forms are given: present tense, past tense and future tense. But as far as the use of verbs are concerned, they are given to you in 3 forms: the simple and the past and the past perfect. The first form, the second form and the third form. For example, write, wrote, written. And you think that these are the only 3 forms of verbs that there are, but there are different ways in which you use verbs, in which they come in front of you. So we need to find out how many different forms there are. So there are basically 5 different form of verbs, not just 3. One is a root form. Root form is without any ed attached to it or any s or ing attached to it. It is the bare root form without any additions to it. For example, here 2 bare forms are given: love and drink. This can also be called the first form of the verb. Then the S form comes: loves and drinks, but there are conditions. For example, you can use them with he, she, it or all the singulars, but you cannot use them with plurals. So that is called the S form of the verb. And then the past form is there. This is called the simple past, or the second form of the verb, loved and drank. And if it is an irregular verb, you will be like wrote and spoke, etc. Then comes the ing form. This is also a form of verb that comes across us, but we never really take it as a form of verb. But this is called the ing form, and this is where the verb takes an ing with it, loving and drinking. And then the last one is the past participle form. This is also called the third form of the verb, and it is usually denoted by ed. And in irregular forms, they can have different forms. For example, drink, drank, drunk; write, wrote, written; speak, spoke, spoken; fly, flew, flown. So in irregular verbs, they have different forms, but as far as the regular verbs are concerned, they usually end with ed. So in simple language, the ing form of the verb is called present participle, and the third form of the verb is called past participle. So you need to remember again, I'll repeat. The ing form of the verb is called present participle, and the third form of the verb is called the past participle. Now, I'm going to show you a list in which you can see the forms of all these verbs in front of you. Talk, talked, talked, and talking. And you can see the labels at the top: present form, past participle, and present participle form. So it would be a good exercise that whenever you come across a verb, you try to change them into all these four forms. You can add an S form in the middle also. For example, cry, cries; cried, cried, crying; bury, buries; buried, buried, burying; teach, teaches; taught, taught, teaching; sleep, sleeps; slept, slept, sleeping. So you can exercise it. It's more like drilling, but drilling is very important as far as structures are concerned. So it somehow gives you a lot of practice into different form of verbs. Now, just to revise it again, the third form of the verb, as you can see in the third column here, this is the past participle. So whenever somebody says to you or asks you to put a past participle, don't get confused. This is the third form of the verb. And when somebody says use a present participle, this is the ing form of the verb written in this last column. Now the uses, because in grammar, nothing is without use. So you need to understand why there are so many different types of verbs, forms of verbs. So the usage is given in the first half. You can see here in present participle. Where do we use it? We use it as a part of a continuous form of verb. Whenever we make tenses, especially continuous tenses, we use the ing form. For example, present continuous, he is reading a book; past continuous, he was reading a book; future continuous, he will be reading a book. So whenever you are changing a tense into a continuous tense, you use the verb with ing. But it cannot stand alone. You need to have a little verb with it. Is reading, are reading, was reading, were reading, will be reading. So it cannot stand alone in a tense like this. It has to have a little help from the verb here. So that is why it is called a auxiliary. Auxiliary means that it helps the main verb. So you can't say he reading book. You need a verb, a short verb here. He is reading a book. Now, another use of present participle is that you use it as an adjective. Adjective is like a quality of a noun. Now, in that also the ing form is used, but you use it before a noun. So, a smiling girl is my sister. It qualifies the noun. How is the girl? It is a smiling girl. So smiling becomes a quality. So ing form of the verb can be used as an adjective as well. And in your exercise, it is usually used as an adjective. And the last thing is a gerund. Gerund is a noun which looks like a verb because it has an ing with it. But basically, it is about an action that is happening. It's a name of an action. Mary is interested in reading books. So reading here is not a continuous action, but it is like a hobby. So that takes ing. Same as swimming is good for health. Running is a good aerobic exercise. So all the ing words, they can be used as gerunds as well. In the next column, you can see the uses of past participle. Please remember, past participle is the third form of the verb. And one thing that you see in common in present participle and past participle is that both can be used as an adjective. Spoken words cannot be revoked. So here the words are qualified by the verb spoken. So it means that it is a quality of the words. What type of words? Spoken words. So it becomes its adjective. So the third form of the verb can also be used as an adjective. A broken car, a painted house, a repaired car, etc. Okay, a written document. So a third form of the verb can be used with nouns and then they become adjectives, or it can be used to make other tenses also. For example, perfect tense cannot be made without the third form of the verb. So whenever you're using have or has to make a tense, for example, present perfect tense, I have written a letter, he has written a letter, they had written a letter, like past perfect tense, he would have written a letter. So again, even in future perfect tense and future perfect, present and past and future perfect, you use past participle as third form of the verb. So again, like in present participle, you used all the continuous tenses with the help of ing form, and as far as the perfect tense is concerned, all the three perfect tenses, present, past and future, cannot be made without a past participle. Last one is that it is used in passive voice. Whenever you are changing active sentences into passive sentences, you use past participle. For example, he wrote a letter was written by him. So you have to use a third form of the verb, and the third form is also called the past participle. I hope it is clear. If it is not, you can go back to the video and listen to the explanation again. Grammar is something that comes only with practice, so you need to practice them more. Okay, so we just talked about present participles used as adjectives, and in all these fill in the blanks, all the ing words are basically the adjective, like a quality of the noun, waiting boy, an interesting story, a broken car, the forgotten pizza, the working father. I saw him going, like this is an action, the repaired computer, the talking students, excited fans, the girl living next door. So in all of them, other than the 6th and the 10th, all of them are basically adjectives. Okay, so you can use ing and the third form as the adjectives qualifying these nouns. Now going to the last exercise, here you can also see that in the first column all the past participles are used as adjective, and in this column all the present participles are used as adjectives. Repaired watches, stolen computers, fascinated fans, bored students, confused boys, forgotten, all these are past participles. These are the third forms of the verb. Here it is said that use the present participle, but as you can see that all of them are coming before a noun, so they are all again used as adjectives. Barking dogs, playing children, screaming girls, fighting cowboys, crying babies, running water, singing teachers, falling leaves, lying people, etc. So these are the different exercises that were given in your book, and I thought of putting them in a sequence in which you can easily understand them. If you have any question, you can ask, or you can go back and go through these exercises again, and then again ask the question if you have any. Please subscribe to my channel and like the video also, and please press the bell icon if you want to be notified about the next video that I'm going to upload. Thank you so much.